This is the Built Different podcast with Dwayne and William.
All right, William, I'm glad you prepared all these notes, did all the research for this podcast. I'm real excited to go over these pictures that you got. Where are we going to start?
So we're going to be starting a little bit of electrical, talking about moisture and pretty much safety here today. A little bit mechanical as well.
Okay. Electrical, mechanical, safety. Good. Let's do it.
All right. So this is a panel that I see pretty often. There was a brand that was really popular in the 60s and 50s called Zinsco. I think we've talked about it on a podcast before.
Yep.
And essentially there's an issue with the clip-on breakers.
Yeah, Zinsco panels are definitely in need of replacement at this time. A lot of insurance companies won't renew policies if the Zinsco panels are present. So
Yeah. And so this panel was actually labeled as being manufactured as Sylvania.
yeah, that's the tricky part, right?
So I'll go further into this. Essentially what happened in 1973, Sylvania acquired Zinsco, and they pretty much rebranded their panels, and they still use the breakers that were known to be the issue with Zinsco panels.
So they're still Zinsco engineered panels.
And
they were just named now Sylvania.
Yeah, and the good thing is Zinsco breakers have a dead giveaway because they're other than I think Bryant, but Bryant's pretty good about labeling their breakers. They're the only breakers that are colorful and have that certain kind of design on the handle. So no matter who you are as a home inspector, most home inspectors can identify this at first glance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Zinsco panels actually have those little labels on them like that. They actually say Zinsco on the breakers.
I've been noticing a lot of them a lot of people have been removing all the labels on all the breakers when I come.
That's crazy.
I've seen it a few times, and this was actually the case. As you can see, there's maybe one breaker with a label on it still, one or two.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Sylvania panels with Zinsco breakers, labeled breakers in the Sylvania panels, which
that's what we're looking at here. So
yeah. I mean, you can tell that label right there says Zinsco on it on that upper breaker.
Yeah.
So
I think this one's pretty obvious. This is a pool sub panel for all the pool equipment.
I see the pool equipment in the background there.
And essentially someone removed the knockout plate where you would have typically the incoming service to come into the panel.
You know, I mean,
they didn't cap it back off.
I wouldn't be surprised, William, if they just took a sub panel from somewhere else and repurposed it where the electrical was coming in through the top and they just didn't cap it.
I mean that makes sense too. But essentially, this just needs to be capped so rain doesn't get in there, bugs and other things.
Rodents.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. All I got to say is wow. I mean, why would you do that? Just why would you do that?
I think it's worth noting that the unit, so this is essentially a refrigeration line set coming from the air conditioner to the furnace in the attic. And
the condenser's up probably on the ground, right? And they're just running it all the way up. It's not a vaulted ceiling here because you got in the attic, right?
Yeah, wow. Not a vaulted ceiling. For whatever reason, they go through the roof instead of.
Where's the air handler?
It's in the attic.
The air handler's actually in the attic?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a furnace in the attic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's and for whatever reason, instead of coming through either the wall or like a attic vent on the side of the home, they punctured a hole in the roof, put the line set in through the roof, and flashing that's pretty difficult. We almost never see it flash correctly, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do make boots for it, but
no one never goes the extra mile to actually do it correctly,
right?
As far as I've seen,
right.
And essentially, they just got some roofer's duct tape, we call it mastic, and sealed up the vent. And you can see there's also another problem around where the valley flashing is. They sealed up those other areas as well. But it really should be coming in through something like this, right?
Right.
Self-sealing, a downward angle. This is for a flat roof, but I'm sure you can pretty much put together something.
Even that would be better
Yeah.
than what they did there, right?
Yeah.
But those are expensive. I mean, they're not cheap, and so I don't know how much that one costs, but
And this is actually the water stain underneath it.
okay.
So it does
It
leak.
didn't even come straight down through. It's at an angle. Geez. Well, job security for us, right, William?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Hey, I got a quick request for you. Take a second and hit those like and subscribe buttons, and the alerts bell too. Alright, so that's a few requests. But that second or two of your input does a lot for our channel, and we want to keep making great videos for you. Which means, yeah, you can make requests too. Just drop a comment and tell us what you'd like. Guaranteed, we'll check it out.
Why? Just why? I mean,
No, I couldn't tell you.
so all you had to do, it's a vinyl downspout, is just to cut it.
Yeah, just
To
cut
make
it,
cut
flush
it?
a new one on there. They already have the strap for the downspout.
Right.
It's just looks like an unfinished job to me.
All the water is just going right onto your wall, right through the porous stucco onto your wall. I mean, that's just, you're asking for moisture damage and mold to get into that wall.
Yep.
I mean, you're just asking for it, especially if it's a deluge, you know?
Yeah. Or we've been getting rain like we have been these last
Couple.
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. Well, and there's, depending on what part of the country you're in, if that kind of condition's happening, you're going to have real problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and that could be expensive to fix.
Okay, so just looking at the concrete there, this looks like a garage that was built maybe in the 20s or the 30s.
Correct.
I can tell just by
The design of the slab.
the design of the slab. And so when this garage was built, there was not gypsum board on the walls because they didn't even manufacture gypsum board during the period of construction. So tell me about it.
Yeah, they used like a plaster back then, which is not organic like drywall. Is not as susceptible to moisture wicking up and basically microbial growth. Now, this is gypsum board that was installed on a remodeled garage built in the 20s and 30s. And what the issue is here is essentially the drywall touching the concrete.
Right. You need to have a clearance, and there's code on that.
I struggled to find the code on it. The only definitive answer I can get on it is that the Gypsum Association recommends a 1/4 inch clearance.
Okay. So
And
the Gypsum Association.
yes.
I didn't know there was a gypsum board association.
Yeah, there
or
is.
gypsum association. So good.
Yeah, there is a Gypsum Association, kind of like what was it when we were talking about the Pool Plaster Association? Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you have to do digging to find some of this stuff sometimes, but
Yeah, and you can see there's a very light water stain at the bottom of the drywall there.
well, there's a so I mean, there's a reason for that, right? I mean, it shouldn't be touching the concrete because concrete actually has moisture. It has an allowable amount of moisture level in it.
Yes, because it's
Especially-
permeable.
It's permeable, especially in a garage, because garage slabs are typically what, 3 inches thick? I mean, they're not that thick usually, and you know, garages are designed to essentially allow moisture to get on the slab and drain out of the garage. And so definitely don't want gypsum board or sheetrock in contact with the concrete there.
Yeah, and this is pretty new drywall, would you say? And you can see they haven't even finished
It
it.
doesn't look that old.
And look, this is the same garage, same wall, and this is already building up to this level.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be toxic mold right there.
Yeah.
That's why you don't want to do it. So there's a lot of moisture in that garage, obviously. Wow.
Yeah, so short, you need a 1/4 inch clearance, and if this is an attached garage, you need to seal up the gap or the joint with a fire rated caulking,
I
essentially.
hope you didn't stick your head down in there and breathe. Take a big whiff of that.
No, not at all.
All right, so this is a boxed area, and I can tell as an experienced inspector, we are underneath a forced air fuel furnace, and that's the return air plenum.
Correct.
And wow, how you got that picture?
Well, I completely removed the grill. So.
Oh, did you? Okay. So you removed the return air service grill off the wall.
Correct. Because I looked in there, saw that it was wet, and I was like, okay, I'm going to remove this grill and
You wanted to
see everything.
Yeah, you wanted to look in there. So looks like maybe a little bit of mold there, William.
Yeah, right underneath the filter that's pulling in air and blowing it throughout the entire house. Yeah, I would say so.
What is all that white stuff on? Looks like they threw like a powder in there, or even was that look like a?
I'm not
Or
sure.
spray paint? I mean, like a Kills or something? It looks like they knew about it and tried to do something. Weird.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this is an area that's been treated before and they didn't fix the issue, or the issue is persistent.
I don't know. That white stuff looks like it's actually on the filter. So,
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah, and essentially there was no secondary drain
Okay.
on this furnace, so I would think either the condensate drain line's either backed up, and it's
Yeah.
backing up into the furnace, or there's a disconnection somewhere in the unit.
Condensate drain lines are a big deal for property inspectors. Got to inspect those thoroughly. Make sure you know where they're terminating. Make sure there's a secondary. Even if the furnace is on the first floor, you should always write up a secondary.
Yeah, because it just have a
makes
kill
sense.
switch installed.
Kill switch works just fine. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of apartments, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of units, and these apartments are typically pretty small, especially in the older parts of town where they're old units. And that's an old wall heater. I mean, that wall heater looks, based on my experience, I'm suspecting that's no earlier than 40s, 50s. I mean, that's an old wall heater.
Yeah, I'm surprised it works.
I know.
I guess they don't make them like they used to, is what we always say, right?
Yeah, I mean, on furnaces, right? I mean, it's a very low efficiency. It uses a lot of gas.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is actually installed in a bedroom.
Okay. We don't like gas-fired appliances in bedrooms.
No, we don't. Now, the gas and fuel code states that you should not have gas appliances in bedrooms.
Why?
Well, they specify it as sleeping rooms.
But why?
Why?
Why not gas-fired appliances in sleeping rooms? Oxygen, right?
Yeah, they require oxygen. It can lead to elevated levels of carbon dioxide or nitrous oxides, as well as elevated levels of carbon monoxide.
Gassing you, right? I mean, either you don't get enough oxygen, which is considered a gas, to breathe, or you get toxic gases, which can affect you and your health.
Yeah, and it's they also don't want you, as you can see here, putting personal items in front of these, which is something that's very common when you put these in bedrooms.
Yeah, well, there's such limited space. I mean, that's actually not too bad right there in that photo. I mean, a lot of times we see stuff draped all over it.
Or just completely in front of it.
Yeah, I see like a fabric couch just up against it.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've even seen people decorate them.
Really?
With like Halloween decorations and stuff.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, definitely this.
But a lot of times, I mean, to be fair, a lot of times they literally just shut the pilot off and don't use them.
Oh yeah, most of the time. I mean, but we're in Southern California.
We're in Southern California, so the climate's pretty temperate here. So yeah, that one should be replaced. Should actually be removed, and a new system should be installed in this unit.
Yeah, either an electric one, or there is actually an exception where you can have direct vented gas appliances installed in bedrooms that shoot straight through the wall.
Right, and yeah, exhaust the products of combustion to the exterior.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a gas package unit in a tankless water heater with exhaust vents producing products of combustion right next to a bedroom window. I have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to hold back, and I'm going to let you dive deep into it, William. I know these are conditions that we report on consistently with home inspections, but clearances and the Natural Fuel Gas Code and the International Residential Code have some things to say about it, and I think we might have some disagreements on what is in the actual code.
Yes. So essentially, the general rule of thumb for the most part is you need 4 feet of clearance to any openable windows from exhaust vents, whether that's 4 feet below or 4 feet to the side. And then
on the first level,
to any window.
Whether you're on the second level from a roof.
Yes.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
if it's a tiered roof, sometimes you see that as well.
Okay.
So yeah, it doesn't matter. But if it's not 4 feet below the window or 4 feet to the side of the window, it has to be 1 foot above the window, just like you typically see with exhaust vents going up above the roof. They have to go 12 inches above the roof line.
Okay.
Now, there are less requirements for direct vented appliances. I do have a table here that goes over this.
So they're allowed to be closer if it's a direct, like, power vent?
Correct.
Or just a direct vent?
Just a direct vent.
Okay.
And it all depends on the BTUs. So anything less than 10,000 BTUs, it says here, is you just need 6 inches of clearance.
So what are we looking at here? This is, we're on the ICC Digital Codes website. This is the International Residential Code. You're at...
This is the International Fuel and Gas Code.
Okay, so we're in the International Fuel and Gas Code, table 503.8, and it's pretty specific.
Yeah, it says here, minimum clearance for direct vent terminals, anything less than 10,000 BTUs, you need 6 inches. Anything greater than, you need 9 inches, all the way up to 50,000 BTUs. And anything more than that, you need 12 inches of clearance.
Let's go back to that photo with the tankless water heater and its direct vent. How many inches would you say that is from that openable bedroom window? That looks like 12 inches to me.
Oh, definitely 12 inches.
So it's more than 12 inches. And the code says you need...
It looks like 3 feet to me.
Under 10,000 BTUs, it was 6 inches, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, according to code, that's going to be an acceptable clearance. And I know that you also fall back to the manufacturer's installation specifications, which we don't know what that is for that tankless water heater, but I'm sure it's probably consistent with the code there. My argument here is I don't like it.
I don't either.
I'm going to call BS on that.
As you can see, this is a really old house.
I mean,
and these windows, they don't close completely shut like you see with new windows today.
Right. That's and you can see it. That window's closed, and there's gaps there at that window. And look, if I'm going to put a baby's crib next to that window, I don't want products of combustion drafting into the bedroom.
Correct.
Even if you even mentioned to me earlier, when we were doing a rehearsal, you wouldn't want to be sleeping in that bedroom with the window open and that water heater going. I mean, you probably couldn't sleep because that water heater's loud, but but I mean, so sometimes you have to go with what makes sense. And I think a good home inspector is going to make the potential home buyer here aware of that. There's another exhaust vent with products of combustion coming out underneath the window. And so what do you have to say about that?
Same thing, pretty much.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's
It says that vent has to be to the side of the window.
It said either to the side or 4 feet below.
Which I would argue both of these vents are in front of these windows. They're not to the side at all.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not 4 feet below it.
Yeah, no, so I agree. I know you had a bone to pick with this installation, not just because of the vent clearances, but you made a really good point that I haven't really thought about. Maybe I've given a little bit of thought of it, but not too much. But this is an exhaust vent that's located on the ground, pointed directly downward, and there's no sort of protection around it. And you made a really good point, being like, what if there's a kid sitting right there
playing with his Tonka truck, right? You just envision that. Yeah. You're a 5-year-old, and you got your G.I. Joe and your Tonka truck, and you're just like playing with your toys, just oblivious that furnace is going off, and that you're breathing, essentially gases that are products of combustion. So I asked you specifically to look that up and see what you could find to see if it was allowable to have that gas pack or that boxed furnace, on the ground.
Okay, so we asked Google, can gas packaged units be installed on the ground? And Google AI says yes, gas packaged units can be installed on the ground. And
it says even it's a common installation method. It's not common. Yeah. I can tell you that right now. So it got that one wrong.
Yeah. But it's common with mobile homes, I would say.
They're common would be on the roof. They're
Yeah.
commonly installed on the roof.
Yeah. That is true. But mobile home roofs aren't designed to carry loads like that.
No, they're not.
And there's no attic typically.
Well,
so that's
I
why
meant
they're
commonly installed on like
Residential.
residential, more commonly commercial. Those are
definitely.
typically for commercial use, not so much residential.
Yeah. Google AI says yes, and it cites its sources being two well-renowned manufacturers that we see commonly, Goodman and Carrier. And their websites say that their products are designed and allowed to be installed on the ground.
You know, crazy. It's a safety issue. A total safety issue. A gas pack means that you have gas going to the appliance. There's a furnace there, and it's going to exhaust products of combustion, which are toxic and dangerous to your health, period. Would you want your kid sitting next to that thing playing with his Tonka truck? No. I mean, who in their right mind would want that? So why would they allow that to be installed on the ground? It's just beyond me. But yet we'll have all these codes in the building code or natural fuel gas code that says, you know, openable windows and clearances above the roof. But, you know, they get a exception, I guess, for this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a good home inspector, if you're a home inspector, you need to be calling it out. It's a safety issue.
Yeah. Even though this met the code, I still called it out.
Yeah.
Because we follow the California BMP here.
Well, business and professions codes in pretty much any state are going to require a home inspector to call out safety issues. In the court of law, typically, and this has been consistent for a very long time, if you have a skill or a profession and you are the authority and you see something, you're typically held accountable for that. If it's a health or safety issue, you're supposed to tell somebody. And that's commonly accepted and understood. And so in our profession, this would be one of these instances where a home inspector should be calling this out and saying, hey, this is a safety issue, and informing the customer about it.
I know we like to say babies win in court.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was told that early on in my career as a property inspector that dead babies always win in court.
Yep.
So it's a good rule of thumb is somebody that has to look at health and safety items, and doesn't matter what the building code says, doesn't matter what the manufacturer says, doesn't matter what anybody says. If somebody can die over the condition, or if it's a significant health and safety issue, it's your responsibility to put it in your report and inform somebody about it. Just flat out.
I totally agree.
You went hard on that one.
Yeah, we did.
Oh my goodness, William!
So I thought
this plumber has got to be having nightmares like he is in the video game Tron. I mean, look at all of these pipes. What the hell?
This might be the worst installation I've seen in quite some time, if not ever.
It looks like
of a water
all of
heater.
that's for the water heater.
It is.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be noting that the pipes are very unconventionally installed. You can see there's a valve down there that the pipe is just open, doesn't go anywhere.
What size pipes are you going to think those are? Is that 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch?
I think they're 1/2 inch.
1/2 inch pipes.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. What do you remember the square footage or how big this house was?
This house was
I mean, how many bedrooms and bathrooms did it have?
it was like 6,000 square feet.
So this was a very large home.
Yes.
Okay,
But
so
very open concept, big living room, big kitchen.
so 6,000 square feet. I'm suspecting it's got at least 4 or 5 bathrooms in it, and a kitchen, maybe even an outdoor kitchen in the backyard. How was the functional flow at the furthest bathroom away from this area, which would probably be the master bathroom, I'm guessing?
It was good. In the corner, you can't see it in the photo. There is a circulation pump.
I see. Okay, so wow.
But
I that's something that I would be really paying close attention to is checking functional flow by going to the furthest faucets and fixtures away from this area, flushing a toilet, seeing if there's any flow reduction in the shower, because man, it looks like they just it looks like the video game Tron.
yeah, I know we've been banging up exhaust vents pretty hard, but this one's pretty straightforward.
So, what's going on here? Looks like before they put that tankless water heater in, there was a tanked heater, a boiler, right? And they removed it, put the tankless in, and just didn't bother to connect the exhaust vent over there to it.
Well, look at the very top. I disagree because it looks like there's a very rusted, deteriorated vent connector up there.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So it looks like moisture was getting to the top. Yeah, and you can see the water stain running down the very front of the appliance.
Yeah.
So the vent. So it looks like maybe that thing has dropped down, and the connectors. They removed the connector.
Yeah.
It's a good one, William.
Yeah. This unit manufactured 2019, so this installation's not too old.
So this thing's only been there maybe 4 years, 5 at the max.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Someone needs to come and redo this vent. And another thing that I thought was interesting that I almost walked by was the gas valve is installed directly at the appliance.
So tell us about that.
So this yellow pipe that we have here, we see it's a gas connector. And whenever you have a gas appliance, they use a gas connector to connect it from the solid gas piping into the unit, where it should actually connect to another rigid pipe. Now, the gas valve to turn the gas on and off should be before this connector, because now in order to service this flex connector, because they do leak every now and then, sometimes you have to have the gas company come and tighten the fittings or have it replaced.
Okay.
Now you can only do that if you turn the water off to the whole, or if you turn the gas off
at the main.
At the main. Yeah.
Right.
And you cannot do that usually with your hands.
That's true. That's true.
You almost always need to turn it off with either a wrench or a tool designed to turn off the gas at the meter.
And you don't want to be messing with those valves because you can break them.
Correct.
So
someone needs to come turn the gas off to the house and essentially put this gas valve in the correct spot.
Wow. That's a good catch there, William. Real quick, off the top of your head, how long do you know? I'm going to challenge you. How long are those gas flex connectors allowed to be?
I want to say 3 feet.
Okay.
I might be wrong.
Okay. I mean, I'm just asking. So
I don't think this one was too long, but there is a requirement.
It looks like it's within the range.
So you can't really tell.
We're on the second level here. That's a hint?
Yes.
Okay. You're on the second level. And you're pointing an arrow. It looks like when I first saw this, you're pointing at that little thing that's underneath the window.
The Febreze thing in the alley?
Febreze air freshener thing, but that's not what you're pointing to. So whoever putting that arrow there is misleading. Shouldn't have done that. Should have put an up or down arrow.
Maybe I'll do that next time.
Yeah.
I have a second photo in my report with the laser tool that I use to measure.
Okay. Yeah, there should have been I would have put like a red line from the floor up to the bottom of the window with maybe an arrow, an up or down arrow, or an arrow going to the red line from the side. But yeah, tell us what we're.
Second level bedroom window, and this window is pretty low to the ground. Don't let the window trim deceive you.
Okay.
Or the shutters deceive you. This window was sitting around 20 inches above the floor.
Okay. It's low.
Yeah, it's pretty low, and especially for a second level bedroom. And essentially, there is a requirement on this since it is a bedroom window, it needs to be an egress window.
Right.
So if there's a fire or any other reason you need to get out of the house and you can't go through the front door or down the stairs, you have to be able to get out of this window.
Right.
And so windows that are less than 24 inches in height from the floor with a 72-inch drop.
So second level window.
Needs to either not open more than 4 inches, which we can't do here because we need emergency exit or egress clearance.
Right.
Or the window needs to have a opening control device, which would be the same thing as that. So we can't go with that.
Can't go with that either.
So we need a fall prevention device to be installed here as well.
Like a nice wrought iron guard on the outside of the window, or it can have even some kind of a I don't want to say plexiglass, but some kind of a barrier in the window on the lower section of it that gets above the height requirement of 24 inches.
Yeah.
So this is the International Residential Code 312.2.1 window opening height code.
Correct. And
So I'm glad that you put this one in here. I think we may have talked about it once before in an earlier podcast, but it does bring to mind a year or two ago, Mike Casey was telling me about a case that he had in the San Fernando Valley here in Los Angeles where a lady fell out of the window on the second level and landed on the grass down on the ground level. She got beat up pretty bad. I don't know what her injuries were and whatnot, but I mean, from the way it sounded like she broke her leg or broke her hip or something, and she turned out to be all right because she landed on the grass, but it was like within inches of the concrete walkway, and she sued, and there was a claim. Well, the inspector got very lucky because it was 24 inches above the floor. And so very, very fortunate that, it was that. But even though my point is, even though the window was a couple of feet above the floor, she still fell out of it and got pretty badly injured. And so, for us as inspectors, knowing that, I feel like even if it's meeting the code, we should probably make some kind of suggestion. If that window's not coming up to your waist,
optimal safety.
For optimal safety, recommend installing a guard for as a fall prevention device.
Yeah, and I do that for windows less than
because we're not
36 inches.
We're not
in
code
height.
inspectors. We're there to again. And we know that even though it meets the code, people still get injured. So why not at least bring it up and let the home buyer be aware of it?
Well, that's a good point to make. Is
right?
That kind of justifies what we were saying about that package unit a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, codes are minimum. There are minimums in there that have to be followed, but it doesn't mean that there's things that aren't of value to somebody buying a home that it's using a home inspector, where the home inspector can add value because we know a lot of information that is not common knowledge, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree.
It's pretty good, William. I really liked all the photos you brought today, and these codes are interesting. I always like talking about things that are health and safety, that even though maybe they meet the code or the code doesn't address it, it's something that we do address to provide value to our customers. And so if you enjoy our content and you like the stuff that we're talking about, please click the subscribe button, mash that like button as well, and then leave us your comments. If you don't agree with us, we definitely like comments that stir the pot a little bit. Or if you like the things that we're saying, please let us know. We'd appreciate it. Have a great one. We'll see you on the next one, William.
Yep, see you.